Good afternoon, Chairperson. Good afternoon, colleagues. Chairperson, this one is for the Minister. On the 29th of January, you said if President Ramaphosa had to issue a warning to the Rwandan forces, stating that hostilities against the South African National Defence Force would be considered a declaration of war, then the catastrophe could have been averted. Are you saying that the President neglected his duty by not sending that warning to the Rwandan President and their forces? Then also, General, we deploy our young men and women, our soldiers, into Africa to go and do peacekeeping. And, so besides giving them guns, we have some very sophisticated weapons. There's the Oryx transport helicopter, can hold up to 19 people. Get them out of danger situations very quickly. Did we have that? Then there's the Roy Falk attack helicopter. And obviously, we know there's no peacekeeping mission. They're fighting M23 rebels. They're at war there. There's no peacekeeping there. People are attacking them, killing them. And we've got at least 8 out of the 46 Roy Falk attack helicopters that still work, General. And then there's some very sophisticated drone equipment, the Seeker 400, designed to perform tactical reconnaissance and surveillance in threat situations. We're sending people to war. Do we provide the air cover, the equipment, so that they can fight that war? Then there's also the Cheetah C-RAM. It's a counter-rocket artillery and mortar C-RAM system. Detects and destroys incoming threats. Had we sent these things, this equipment, we could very well have saved the lives of our young men there. But we didn't. We sent them there to die. We fed them to the wolves because we didn't give them what they need to go and do the job. There's no peacekeeping there. There's a war there. M23, don't ask, are you at war with us? You're a threat to them. So why didn't we send these things? Why didn't we send this equipment, this sophisticated equipment that we spend millions of rands, billions of rands? We give them now billions of rands to develop stuff, but we don't use it. We sell it. That guy's sleeping over there, next to you, General. Just
Please wrap up, Honorable Member.
He's in defense, he's sleeping. Thank you very much, Chairperson. You were sleeping.
Thank you.
You see why our people get killed there? You sleep.
Your speaking time is over. Please proceed.
Chair, for the mere fact that the generals are seated here with us this afternoon, it means that there's no peace there. Why must we wait to bring back the soldiers that are still stuck in the DRC? Why must they still be there, protecting the interest of white monopoly capital and the interest of Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa? Why must lives be lost? They must ask that question. Maybe perhaps, Minister, your spokesperson will help you. But it's disheartening to see kids on TikTok crying for their loved ones that are still stuck there, not knowing are their parents safe or not safe. Doesn't that rock you? Doesn't that shake you? Because if it's in fact true what the Major is saying, and I'm not pointing to him, I like to speak with my hands. If it's indeed true that what the Major is saying, we would have had at least bring back our soldiers by now. Because the minister went there, some Secretary General also went and paraded there, took photos and come back. And didn't bring back our soldiers that are dying on a daily basis. In fact, we need the truth. There's not this fancy report that we have just received now that everything is hunky-dory, there's no issues. It's a lie. And we are being misled as Parliament. So that's why we need the report and this presentation, so that we can, if there's indeed, we are being misled, there's a recourse as this Parliament that we can take. We cannot let the blood of our brothers and sisters be in vain like that. We cannot continue like that. The last, we knew for about 10 years, Advocate, that the budgets were cut on year end, and we have rejected these budgets. And forever we were told as EFF, you are rejecting service delivery. Because we knew why we are rejecting them. Because how do you pass a defense budget? We can't keep our country safe. We have been exposed. Thirdly, what was the intelligence, the military intelligence? Couldn't we have perceived this attack on our soldiers and further attacks that might still happen as we are seated here in this air-conned offices of ours? Work needs to be done. Boots needs to go to the ground. We need to bring our soldiers back. And I want to propose, Chair, again, there's budgetary constraints. Why are we parading on Sona Day all of those troops here? If there's indeed budgetary constraints, because if we look in terms of the money that is spent to bring those troops here, the money that is going to be spent to feed the troops, and all of that, there's nowhere in the Constitution that it stated that Mr. Ramaphosa must have that. In fact, he should have called it off and said to Parliament, in line of having our fallen soldiers, we will not be paraded. Because what are you parading? What are you showcasing? We knew that the Rooivalk and the diesel pumps and everything were broken. We were told that as committee members in appropriations. We're told that. And yet, we sit here this afternoon and come with a honky-dory report and think things are normal. Carl is correct. The minister by now should have held her head in shame. The generals by now should have held their head in shame to come and disregard Parliament like this with some clumsy report that they think they can bypass us like some of us can't read. So by now they should have at least we should have found themselves there. If there's indeed peace, let them fly out tonight on a plane. If indeed there's no threat and everything is hunky-dory as he stated, let the two generals that are seated here today, let the president send them there, and then we will hear from them how they return. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just as an aside, not all white people look the same and think the same. It happened to have been Mr. Chris Hutton, my colleague here, who asked you that the chair should not speak for 20 minutes. But I did happen to agree with that because we as members should have the right to have enough time to speak. But in seriousness, Chair, I'm holding here in my hands a file which contains the reports, the legacy reports, since 2015 of what had been told to the chief of the South African National Defence Force, also the current chief's predecessor, and the various ministers, that the SANDF is not in a position to carry out an offensive mandate in any country in Africa, that the SANDF is collapsing. Now, it's taken a year for the chief of the South African National Defence Force, General Mponya, to come to our committee. We've asked many times, he never dignified us with his presence. It had to take 14 of our SANDF soldiers to die for him to come here. We told the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, the SANDF is collapsing. We cannot carry out an offensive mission in the DRC. Here are my 3 questions. Why are you Minister? And why is the President lying to us about the nature of the operation that we have in the DRC? It is not a peacekeeping mission. It is an offensive mission, and it is defined as such by the SADC. Therefore, you knew that our soldiers were going to be shot at, and you knew that you're sending our young men into the DRC to die in the killing fields of the DRC. You did not have the ammunition, you did not have the supplies, you do not have the money to have sent them, but you sent them to die for the mineral wealth that is being looked after, the mines that are being looked after, that belongs to Cyril Ramaphosa, his family, and his friends. On all sides, we have a defense of the mineral wealth rather than for the people of the DRC. That is my first question. My second question, Minister, and the Chief of the South African National Defence Force. When are you going to bring our soldiers back? Are you bringing them back now? And explain to us how you are going to bring them back. And my third question, why do you disrespect us? And why do you disrespect the South African nation with this pitiful little report that contains hardly any information, that doesn't address the issues that needed to be addressed here this afternoon? Stop disrespecting us. And lastly, when are you Minister? No, I'm just pointing to the Minister. Okay, let me leave my hands down. When are you Minister? You get threatened easily, Minister. When are you Minister? And when are you Chief of the South African National Defence Force resigning? You should resign today. And when are the rest of your generals who were playing golf at Copperleaf while our soldiers were dying? When are they going to resign? Those are my questions. I expect answers.
There's a point of order. There's a point of order. Point of order, yes?
What is the point?
Chair,
One earns
we
respect. One
cannot allow
doesn't
a
demand
member
respect, Minister. Your
Honorable,
behavior doesn't
pointing
earn
someone.
respect.
No. Chair, don't allow this.
honorable members,
Because we're able to point others also.
we started the meeting by agreeing that the issue we are here to discuss is non-partisan. Secondly, we agreed that we are going to conduct ourselves in a manner that behoves a country that has lost 14 soldiers. I suggest that we continue to do that in honor of our men who died in the DRC. And so I suggest that we conduct ourselves in that fashion, that the President, this meeting is a meeting on behalf of Parliament. The protocols of respect that Parliament confers on each member still apply here. And so the President must still remain the President, Mr. Ramaphosa, or Honorable President or Honorable Ramaphosa. so that we don't raise tempers unnecessarily. It then doesn't assist us to get the answers that we are looking for. Honorable Hattie.
The committee has. Chair, I won't take all the questions. I'll just answer a few, and then I know the generals will be able to answer. I think when we answer, we'll also have to explain the sequence of events when first the fall of Goma as a city and then at the airport. So there's a member who raised the issue about shooting over our heads. It was at the airport where we have a base, your air base and your logistic base. And that happened that's where we lost the 3 soldiers. So what would have happened, which led to also, I think the statement that one of the members from the EFF raised, was that there was an incident where the missiles came from the direction of Rwanda, and they landed on our base. And that's the first report we have, because after every 2 hours we do get reports of what is happening there. It only emerged later that it was not Rwanda that had initiated the shelling that landed up in our base. It was a response to a shelling that came from the DRC into Rwanda's direction, and Rwanda was reacting. And that's why we said, if indeed Rwanda would have deliberately targeted us as a peacekeeping force, which means they would have been declaring war. But clearly, they were responding to the DRC and not to us. And I think that's where the statement came. But so I think we'll clarify the different sequences, because I think maybe because the report was verbal, there would have been some misunderstanding about the defense. The only matter that I must say, Chair, I feel requires answering is these allegations about the reasons why we're in Rwanda, why we're in the DRC. Chair, it will really shook me to the core that heads of state of 15 countries meet in a specific day. We are saying on the 8th of May at Windhoek in Namibia. Heads of state took a decision for the Summit DRC mission. So from the allegations, so it means all of them, 15, agreed to go and protect the interests of South African business. I think it's really, it just really shocks me to think, it's really also taking, in my view, taking the entire SADC for nothing, that they could meet as heads of state on behalf of individuals in South Africa. It's a mission supported also by AU. So even AU will sit and support a mission that supports certain individuals in South Africa. Where still UN also, United Nations, sits and support a mission that is supposed to support South African business. It can't be true. It just, common sense says it can't be true. And we did spell here what were the objectives of the mission. At no stage it's mentioned any person's name. So I thought I should raise that the allegations just don't seem to, I don't want to be, I'm bullying, so I don't want to use strong words, but they just don't seem to really make adequate sense. I think the chair also raised a question about budgets, because we're mixing issues, Chair, I think. And the questions that you said I answered, yes, if I am to answer, I'll repeat them. I was talking about the inadequacy of the budget for our own local needs. When we go to Summit DRC, we go, there's 15 countries. The money that supports the mission comes from the SADC countries. Even MINUSCO, it comes from UN. So to say we would have taken the royal flag, we're not going, so why do we take a royal flag if we're not going to war? What we take is things that, like we were attacked to protect ourselves. So you take enough to protect yourself, but you don't take your firepower to a country as if you're going to war with that country. We're not going to war to that country. Whether we call it peacekeeping or what, in our understanding is peacekeeping. That's why we didn't take our fire. That's why we didn't take our fire. So I think people can call it the names they want, but to expect that we have taken our firepower to another country when we're not going to war, whereas we just needed enough to protect ourselves in case, and which happened that we attacked and we had enough firepower to protect ourselves, but would not take the firepower. So I'll repeat those things and confirm that indeed the country is safe in the hands of our members. The other question also was, we're playing big Father Christmas, and then we're in the UNESCO. There are more than 10 countries. The head of UNESCO is even a Senegalese. It's not a South African. So you have your Bangladeshi army. The hospitals are run by Indian doctors. Madagascar is bringing medical. So it's a world mission. We might have been there in the summit DRC, but in UNESCO there are more than 10 countries that are involved. So there's no South Africa playing big alone. It is. I thought I should raise that. You have India there. I mean, some of the soldiers that we met were in the hospital run by Indian medical personnel. There was a question whether we saw, we did have an opportunity to meet the injured. Yes, we did. We were able to visit the injured at the Summit DRC hospital and also at the UN hospital, right? So we were able to see them, even all of them. We were able to visit them that at the time had been repatriated. That's the soldiers were distracted because they had to protect the minister. When the war broke, I was in Kinshasa, not even there. So we were on our own with the officials. We had gone with senior officials from the department to go and visit our soldiers. So our visit came before the outbreak, or on the eve of the outbreak. And because, as I say, from intelligence, we were getting information that there are tensions that are brewing, and there was a need to go and speak with the government, which we did. And I want to emphasize the point that you made, and I think that's what we had said at SADC, that the challenges of the DRC have been so long and protracted. But with this modern times, we believe that you can't solve any conflict now by the gun, the barrel of the gun. Yes, you need firepower, but the solution is going to come from a negotiated settlement. That's where and that's where the peacekeeping process is coming to say you will not solve this conflict through war. You can only solve it through negotiations. And I thought also I should just share a few points that I think I should share with the committee. For instance, yes, indeed, they wanted to check if there's a colleague or a member who wanted to check what is SADC doing. As I said, last week, Friday, we went to a SADC meeting with heads of state, and a communique has been issued. It was there in the public, amongst other things that was agreed, was a ceasefire and allow a peaceful negotiation process to go, because that's what we think will bring peace, not any escalation of war. We, even at that meeting, agreed to meet the Eastern African communities, which had already met before. Because you'll remember there was a UN mission which supported the Summit DRC. There was a meeting of AU also, even before we went to SADC, which had met, but also the Eastern African Community also had met. So the agreement there was that the two communities should meet and strengthen their hand in supporting a peaceful process in the DRC. They said the meeting agreed on, before we even are told to go to ministers, as ministers, to see if we'll take the fire. The meeting had decided that ministers of defense and the chiefs should go to the DRC and to make sure that they can really engage directly with the forces.
Thank you, Chair. Allow me to start off by indicating that this Honorable House, I really respect this Honorable House. the fact that our department is unique, that we have got the accounting officer being the Secretary for Defense, calls for the Secretary for Defense to come and account on governance issues to this committee. I've heard that there had been expectations, and I honestly wanted to say I had been always open to both the Portfolio Committee on Defense and the Joint Standing Committee on Defense when there is a need for us to interact. I've also said to the Military Command Council that we need to invite this House so that at least there is a common understanding in as far as our security architecture is concerned, because I indicated earlier that security is our collective responsibility. Chair, having said that, I've learned quite a number of things with regard to the questions that had been asked. The first one, maybe that I will have to try and respond to, which had been persistently being asked, is when are we going to get the remains of our members back? In one sentence, tomorrow. Having said that, allow me once again to say, coming to the issue of whether we are adequately resourced, trained, and equipped, I will respond to this in three ways. The first one is that this House and the honorable members are quite aware that we have had interaction with regard to the future that we want to build together. We have also then, after the advice from the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee and the Joint Standing Committee, went and devised a plan that we named the Journey to Greatness, so as to respond to the issues that pertains to the security of our country. Honorable Chair and honorable members, I think at this moment, when our country is mourning, maybe we should have a session that now addresses the challenges that this organization called the South African National Defence Force is facing. Because it was in the interest of both the Portfolio Committee and the Joint Standing Committee on Defence to say, we will be your mouthpiece when it comes to issues of this nature. We really appreciate that gesture. And that is the reason why I think maybe, because this is a very important and crucial issue that is being raised, we need to engage once again. Having listened to that when we came up with the Journey to Greatness, at least we understood that your effort hadn't been in vain, because we have received indications that the honorable members had agreed that indeed there is a need for us to build the defense force so that going into the future, we may not face challenges that we faced previously and today. You have made it a point that the announcement that the defense force budget must at least be 1.5% of the GDP. And that is as a result of your efforts. So in that way, I hope and believe that when the tempers are so high, when the emotions are so high today, our people out there wouldn't expect that us as the leaders are going to be grappling on the matter of saying, yeah, you have failed because you were not properly funded. I want to answer this one again in the manner that I would say, when it comes to our contribution to SADC mission, all the pledges that we have made, this country managed to give what had been said we would provide. And there hadn't been a shortage. Over and above, we have gone beyond the pledges because we felt that security of our people is paramount, and we have put assets that had been pledged so as to protect our people. And in that way, without saying quite a lot in terms of what is it that is there on the ground as per the security of our people, yes, indeed, we have increased our ability for intelligence collection. We have had our members becoming part and parcel of the mission assessment team of intelligence. That is the term that is less offensive when talking about intelligence. So the MAC had been created with the assistance and help of members of the SNDF as part and parcel of the SADC forces. So on that note, our people must be aware that we knew when things were happening as to what is it that is happening. But what is important is that when we were deployed under the SADC mandate. And whatever we pick up, there were times when we even informed our host of the movements. But those movements were outside our area of operation. And the only thing we could do is to try and inform them and say, this movement might influence and affect us going into the future. And they dealt with it in the manner that they dealt with. So we, as members of the SNDF, had all what was required for us to provide. Coming to the issue of whether our members had been really properly trained, I will indicate that for every mission, before any deployment, prior to being handed over to Chief Joint Ops, there is what we call combat readiness training. And this training takes place in various units and services do combat readiness training. Then they provide the combat readiness certificate. Part of it are the exercises that take place in Luatla. Those exercises are meant at least to determine how ready are your soldiers in carrying out the mission that they are required to do. After doing combat readiness training, Chief Joint Operations then receives the soldiers, and these soldiers are then put through what we call mission readiness training. And this is the training that is tailor-made specifically for the type of the mission that they are to conduct. And indeed, this grouping that went there, they went through combat readiness training, they went through mission readiness training. And it was not for lack of training that we suffered casualties. Being a soldier, I will share with you that most of our casualties did not come as a result of close combat. It came as a result of indirect fire that was directed and DF'd to our positions. We then realized that, indeed, some of the things that are happening are things that, is there anything that we can do to avoid that? Yes, indeed. We increased security of our people, both in terms of intelligence collection and in terms of how do you then counter this bombardment. The bunkers were created, which is the logical thing that soldiers will do. We then said, are the bunkers that are available sufficient? And then they developed them, fortified them, because we realized that this is the nature of the warfare that we're going to face, and therefore the bunkers that we had to be fortified. And as I said, we train as we fight. And when we learned that we need to do that, we fortified. So our members had been resourced, they'd been properly trained. We have done everything that needed to be done in order to protect those that were in the battlefield. The next issue that Chair and honorable members that I would like to touch on is the issue of security and security in terms of soldiers having cell phones in the mission area. We said technology is a friend and technology can be our enemy. And we're not going to really say cut your youngsters from being interactive with technology. But we went out almost 5 years, if my memory serves me well, to come up with the instruction that now determines and rules on how people must use this technology not to be a threat to our security. So that instruction spells out when can you make use of your phone. Nowhere have we encouraged our people to go and take pictures like the James Bonds. We had never, and in that instruction, we had put things that need not be done that will jeopardize their security. Because security of an individual also endangers security of the entire team. Let me just digress, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, to say that with the current technology, I might use my phone very innocently to speak to my loved ones at home. This, for me, does not jeopardize security. But immediately I use that phone, my position had been actually compromised. And anybody who wants to know where I am or the vicinity of my headquarters will pick up that it means if the chief is there, therefore the headquarters of this entity is at that particular point. So I am saying it is now, the most contentious one that I want to try and respond honestly after listening to what the force commander had said. What the minister indicated is that there had been exchange of fire from between DRC and Rwanda. That exchange of fire was said to have been initiated by the forces that had been in the base, that is at Goma Airport, the FRDC elements. These are not the elements that were deployed outside the base. They were deployed just in the base, but they had never utilized that. And when they utilized that multiple rocket launcher towards Rwanda, the Rwandese responded. And minister is right, because the first report that I've given to the minister is that we're under fire. We're being fired at, because that is when the shells were landing on my base. And then the first thing that the commander said is, say, contact. I said, what is happening? He said, we're getting fired from Rwanda. Later on, after a few minutes, is then that the minister had reported that we then realized that this is just an exchange of fire between the two. It is not purely that we are being targeted by Rwanda at that particular moment. So I just wanted to also spell out that when that was picked up, communication is something that is very, very important in war fighting. Then there was communication that ended up now with those who are firing on the other side to say, hey, you're firing at us. What is wrong? Then we were told, no, we are not firing at you. And then the commander had decided to say, for them to be able to see the parameters of our bases, that this is not FRDC. Then the commander, he could have used pink, he could have used purple, he could have used any color, but with the mist and the nature of what is happening, maybe red could have been far better for that case. But in the fog of war, anything that is in your immediate vicinity that will help to meet the objective. The objective was met by the commander taking that flag. All throughout the history of warfare, white flag had been associated with surrender. But in this case, the explanation of the commander had been satisfactory. And I said, what happened thereafter? He said the fire had ceased to fall onto the positions of my troops. Now, I said, if that is the case, it means you have achieved the objective. Even if you had used any other color, you could have achieved it. But in future, you must avoid the use of a color. But, well, next time we will...
General, you're speaking through me.
Thank
so
you.
Continue.
Thank you, Chair. So let me step down on this one because the point is made that what was required was for us to demarcate it.
Here, come from the back and then cross over.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and I thank the Minister and the Chief of the SANDF for the responses that they have given. Unfortunately, I must say the response by the Chief of the SANDF about the white flag is a tall order to believe. It is also very strange, Chair, that the SANDF deployment in the DRC did not seem to expect to be fired at. But when we read what the SADC mission says about the SAMIDRC mission, it says it is to support the DRC government in combating armed groups that threaten peace and security in the eastern DRC. And therefore, it has an offensive mandate, a defensive, not a defensive, but an offensive mandate. So why did we have to find out that we are going to be shot at, and then we had to start taking action to protect our troops? This is incompetence, Chair. Chair, I want to make the following point. Yesterday evening, I sent a message to all three of you as chairs. And I said, we've got a problem. We haven't received a report. None of you have responded to that message. The reason why we're in the problem where we are today, with the paucity of information and the lack of reporting, is exactly because you have allowed the SANDF and the minister to come here and to avoid accountability and to present to us this pitiful report. Let me now tell you quickly, Chair, what the General and the Minister should have said to us. They should have told us the SANDF and State Security Agency are not talking to each other, they're not sharing information, and the State Security Agency warned the SANDF that what is happening in the DRC now is going to happen. Then we must find out that SA members and also some SANDF intelligence members are being chased by the DRC government out of the DRC because they claim that there are intelligence breaches. Chair, the Goma airport has been closed. South African Army cannot access Goma. That is a fact. So how are we going to extract the bodies of our soldiers who passed on? I don't know, but we heard from the General it will happen tomorrow. We will see. President Kagame offered South Africa to land in Rwanda, but South Africa see this as a humiliation by Kagame and therefore is not using this opportunity. There's no electricity for the mortuary that has been provided, and the bodies have started to decompose. This is a tragedy for the families, and it is sad for our whole country. The mortuary generator has run out of diesel. Those that are injured have run out of medical care. The fact of the matter, Chair, is the South African National Defence Force troops in Goma and in the eastern DRC are surrounded by M23. They are not allowed to move or get food. And yes, Chair, it is correct that a number of soldiers died earlier last year, and that number was 10, and this year a number more died, and more recently 5. But in total, in the past 6 months, 24 soldiers passed on. Chair, this is the kind of report we should have received from the South African National Defence Force. Clear, to the point, giving us the facts, not telling us fibs about white flags. Chair, if we received this report that we received today, last night, as it should have happened, as you as chairs should have insisted on, we would have not found ourselves in this compromised position where we find ourselves right now and the lack of information that has been provided to us. What has happened here this afternoon is a shame. It undermines the integrity of this committee. It insults the intelligence of our nation, and it destroys our hope that this leadership, and sorry, I won't point, I'll just wave, that this leadership does not have the ability to save the SANDF, and therefore they must take their jackets and go. Thank you, Chair.
Deputy Minister failed to take the country into confidence, and they had this opportunity to do so. Instead, the minister took this platform and podium to protect and respond to things that shouldn't even concern her. That is up to the presidency spokesperson to respond on that. Her duty should have been to give the country answers as to when is this mission ending. As they have concluded it in Windhoek. Now give us a date and time. When is this mission ending? What type of mission is this that can't end, General? What type of mission is this that can't end? It's just continuous, continuous, continuous. You said you have seen the injured soldiers. And then you even reported here, you have seen the injured soldiers. Why is those soldiers not here back? If you have seen them, why are they not back in the country if they are so much injured? Why did we leave them there? So, General, your connotation of the white flag, you are misleading us and you are bringing this parliament into disrepute. And that is very irresponsible of you. For a person in this position, you don't take ourselves serious and our intelligence serious. So please, if you are doing it at some Likotla and at ANC cabinet meeting, not here in parliament, not here in parliament, and then you say we should have used, even playing it down to a red flag and not a white flag. People are dying. Families are sitting without breadwinners. And you and the minister, you come here, you come and frankly wasted our afternoon. We want also a time as to when is that plane landing, wherever, at Waterkloof or wherever, when are they landing here with those bodies? Because we want to give our brothers and sisters that have died there, fighting for God knows what they were fighting for, a dignified send-off. And then you didn't touch on the issue of standing down on the state of the nation in displaying what you are having and all of that. You haven't even touched on that because you just want it to continue as normal. So if it's indeed safe to go there, Chair, we must write to maybe perhaps as this committee, and if you don't want to write it, we'll write it ourselves as the EFF, to state that the Defence Force must not be allowed to display on the day of SONA 1. And 2, on the removal, because you didn't speak about any consequence management of even those generals that went and played golf. We're continuously seeing photos of people getting out of helicopters and all of those things. The minister is displaying those populace from her office. And then she comes here and says those kids that cried over their parents that have died and the breadwinners that have died, it's fake accounts, they are making it up and all of those things. How can you make up crying for your parent that have perished? How can you make up tears that your parents won't ever be able to see you graduate? will never be able to see you married, will never be able to see their grandkids. How do you make up such emotion? So please don't take us for granted. Don't take the country and our constituencies for granted. If you are doing it to each other there, don't involve us, don't include us. And I support the advocate, and it will come out maybe perhaps on Monday. We need an inquiry. People, heads need to roll. People need to take responsibility. It can't be business as usual and we are comfortably displaying our army and 14 people have perished. And it seemed to me that you still don't know how many is still likely to perish, because your answers here today haven't been satisfactory at all, and it's quite disappointing. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I won't be long. Again, if they are missing answers from the questions raised, we will be willing to respond, Chair. And Chair, I have to say this with utmost respect and humility, that it will be, I will not be able to repeat the answers that I've given on some of the questions. And if members are not happy with the answers, it's unfortunate. Those are the answers we have. Because member says, the minister should have said this, the minister should have said this. So he has the answers that he wants. So I can't say the things that he wants to hear. I have to say the things that I need to say. So that if members to say the minister should have said this, then why was I asked until they have the question, the answers? So I will not be able to get that and repeat the answers or give answers in the way the members want them. The one that I want to, there was also to say that the member says asked 3 questions. I answered to say I agree with, I stand by what I said. When I say we, I'm the Minister of Defense and the spokesperson for the department. So I am entitled to say we as the department. And unfortunately, I even include you as a South African, because I'm your minister. So when I say we, I even speak on your behalf. Yeah. So you are also included. So we includes you. And to say, Chair, no, you can choose one. And to say, Chair, I said peace, there's no price. I'll say it 10 times. So to repeat what I said, to say I stand by what I said, I stand by it. And we, I speak on your behalf as your minister. And then, Chair, on colonialism, I think it's a very interesting debate that is unfolding. But the principle is that is there internationally, that we have to respect the existing boundaries of colonialism. We respect the integrity, because if we bring it home close, Chair, which means you can even start questioning the Lesotho, Swaziland, and Botswana, because they're protectorates which come from South Africa, and therefore says the Basutus in Lesotho are not Basutu. So, so it's an interesting debate, it's a historical debate, but the principle is recognizing and respecting the integrity of existing boundaries, colonial boundaries. And yes, it has its own difficulties. So Tutsis in Congo, Congolese first. More than Tutsis. But it's an issue for them. And I don't think it's an issue I think we can resolve. But I think that's what the principle is saying. And I think, Chair, we've said so many things about budgets. Then in the budget speech, I thought we were speaking about the next time we want us to speak about the budget, what we say about the shortfalls and how that we will be able to answer it. Because we can't answer everything in one situation. So we were asked to speak about the situation that in the DRC, and that's what we tried to do. But if there are more questions about the budgets, what we said in the budget speech, we will still be able to do it if members want it. So we'll still do it. And the other one, which I must say, Chair, again, I don't want to be sounding judgmental. I'm quite surprised that the South Africans were questioning solidarity with other countries. We're products of solidarity. That's why we're able to go and repatriate remains in other countries. So solidarity is part of us. Now to say, what do we want there? What do we want there? When we're chased by apartheid, we ran to those countries. It is a responsibility to be in solidarity with countries. So it's not anything that we should be ashamed of, that we're in solidarity. And then, as I say, what the general said, it's also this matter of saying, because one general said this, and he's saying what we want to hear, so what that general is saying, that's the truth. It's our choice to take what the general is saying is the ultimate truth, because the general is saying what we want to hear. And check with, because I was reprimanded to say I should speak respectfully to members. The member is not here. I really just don't think it's correct, even for members, to cast aspersions on people's personalities. That I travel and stay over, I don't even know anybody, and it's like, go to holidays in Limpopo, because that's where, or even KZN. And so I think if there are issues that we raise here, let's not raise issues about our private personal lives and how do I sleep. Do I have to come and speak about my sleeping patterns? I just think it's a problem, Chair, and I'm really asking for equal respect, because we are instructed to respect, which is, I must, how do I sleep at night? I don't think I have to come and speak about my sleeping patterns. So I do accept that we have to improve communications, but on the strength of the force, I think the other thing also, Chair, this has raised a very important debate. There's a recent report which is ranking defense forces in the country. And I can proudly tell the members that South Africa comes third in the continent after Egypt and Algeria. We're number 3. So we have no doubt. So all the things that were not properly trained is, I think we will not be a perfect defense force. We can't be a perfect defense force. I don't think there's any perfect structure, but we're saying in terms of what we need to do, I can assure members, I can assure the public that indeed we are a force to reckon with. We are a force to reckon with. So I want to stop there and say, because
Honorable members with one another, let's be
Chair,
fair.
point of order. Chair,
There's
point
a
of order.
Point of order.
Chair, the minister does not speak on my behalf, nor on behalf of the economic freedom fighters.
Honorable.
The minister's response is ashamed, and she should be ashamed of herself, and I apologize, and she will not apologize. I apologize to the nation and to the families of the soldiers who died for what she had done and what the SANDF had done. Not in my name.
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. We are honorable members. Honorable members.
Please control the
Honorable
meeting.
members. What we are doing right now, is shameful. It is extremely shameful. The country is looking at us to discuss an important matter. We allow ourselves to digress from the topic at hand at any given time for cheap party political scoring. Let's not do it. Let's not do it. The country is watching us. There are people awaiting their children. We've all spoken here as if we are sympathetic. If we are as genuinely sympathetic, then let's demonstrate it in action. We may have different views about issues being discussed, but let's respect one another and respect the sensitivity of the topic on the table. I request us to please remain calm.